every spring, the population of the ancient city of Jerusalem would double. It was like Ann Arbor on game day. Jewish people came from far and wide to celebrate the Passover. Passover is a week-long festival commemorating the Exodus, the time when God freed his people from slavery in Egypt. This was like 4th of July on steroids. But around the year 33, one particular Passover included a bit of a surprise. The Gospel of Matthew, chapter 21, tells the story. On his way to Jerusalem, Jesus has a few of his disciples go and take a donkey from the city. This is like Grand Theft Auto Jerusalem. And Jesus rides this donkey into the city. The text says a very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road, while others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. The crowds went ahead of him, and those that followed shouted, "Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." Now, there's two little details in this story that make a big difference: the donkey and the branches. Let's start with the donkey. The writer of Matthew points out that the disciples' carjacking maneuver was actually very intentional because it called back to something that had been foretold by Israel's prophets. Hundreds of years before this, the prophet Zechariah preached about God's chosen one, a king that God would send to rule his people with justice and righteousness. The verse says this, "Say to daughter Zion, see, your king comes to you, gentle and riding on a donkey." You see, Jesus' feet weren't tired. He wasn't a kleptomaniac. But by riding into Jerusalem on a donkey during Passover, Jesus is making a bold and purposeful claim that that king that Israel has been waiting for, he is that king. Now, what about those branches? The branches that people laid on the road in front of Jesus. Specifically, these were palm branches. Maybe you attend a church where every Palm Sunday, which is this Sunday, everyone gets their own palm branch. But why? Why wave palm branches as Jesus rode into the city? I mean, was Jesus hot? Did he need some shade? Well, maybe. But again, there's something much deeper and much more significant going on here. In ancient times, palm branches were a symbol of wellness, of goodness, and victory. But specifically in 1st century Jerusalem, a time and place where the Jewish people were living under oppressive Roman occupation, palm branches were a political symbol. They were a symbol of Jewish nationalism, a call for revolution against the Romans. So let's review. By riding in on a donkey, Jesus is saying, "I am your king." And by waving palm branches, the people are saying, "Yeah, let's kill the Romans." But here's the problem. Jesus doesn't kill the Romans, does he? Here's the problem. Jesus isn't here to spark a political revolution, is he? Here's the problem. The people were willing to accept Jesus as king so long as he was king on their terms. And if we're honest with ourselves, I wonder how often we do the exact same thing. I think a lot of us are pretty comfortable with the idea of Jesus being king, so long as he's king over our kingdom, so long as his power is working towards my purposes for my relationships. God can be in command of my faith as long as I can remain in control of my time. But the invitation of Jesus is to lay aside our own kingdoms and invite him to be king on his terms. That means Jesus calls the shots. In your dating relationship, Jesus is in charge. When it comes to who you spend your time with or what you spend that time doing, Jesus is in charge. When it comes to your career or schoolwork or diet or sexuality or politics or conversations or anything, Jesus is in charge. Because the king that Jesus is and the kingdom that he's bringing is not only different, but better than any other option we have ever or will ever see. Because Jesus' kingdom is not a kingdom that puffs itself up. It's one that pours itself out. It's not a kingdom for self-serving, but a kingdom for serving the undeserving. It's not a kingdom of condemnation, it's a kingdom of celebration. And Jesus is not another king that rules by intimidation and fear, but this is a king that rules by service, sacrifice, and ultimate love. Jesus is a different kind of king for a different kind of kingdom. And this kingdom, it's not what you think, but it is one that you are invited into. And to help you begin to lean in and live into that kingdom more and more this week, we have a next step practice available for download in the description. I highly recommend you check that out. But for now, may you invite Jesus to be king in your life. And as you do, may you experience more and more of his kingdom each and every day. Keep being awesome.